Hello everybody and welcome back to Feeder Focus, your guide to the world of junior single-seater motorsport, brought to you by the Feeder Series podcast. I'm your host George Sanderson and it is good to be back for what is going to be my final episode as host of Feeder Focus. The series will continue, but it will be with a fresh face from next week as I make my sad departure from Feeder Series to start a new role. But enough of the soppiness. Let's get cracking with this week's episode, and after our interview with GB3 driver Aurelia Nobles last week, we are once again back to our regular schedule for this week's episode, looking ahead to more on-track action this weekend. 5 feeder series will begin their 2026 campaigns this week with Spanish F4 at Valencia, Central European F4 at Spielberg, and all 3 of Formula Regional Americas, F4 US and Leisure Junior Formula Championship taken on NOLA Motorsports Park. As always, I am joined today by one of the resident experts here at Feeder Series, and this week, making his podcast debut, will be one of our younger members and our resident Central European F4 expert, Maciek Jackiewicz. Maciek, welcome to the show. How have you been?
Hello, and I'm fine. I'm super happy to be here to talk about Central European F4, so thank you for having me.
Of course, and we'll also be hearing from our Spanish F4 editor Seb Tirado later in the episode as he previews the season opener at Valencia. So, without any further ado, here is your Feeder Focus. So, let's kick things off with your series, Maciek, and Central European F4 is back in 2026 for its 4th season, and with it comes a bumper-sized grid and 6 rounds with 4 races each to look forward to. Tell us a little bit more about how Central European F4 works and where it's heading this season, Maciek.
Yeah, so basically F4 Central Europe was made in 2023, and every year it has seen steady progress in the number of cars, but this year is absolutely beautiful because we have more than 40 cars coming for the first weekend, which means that we're also gonna have a different format with 4 races per round because there is not enough space to fit all the cars. And yeah, the series will head to the most known venues in Central and Eastern Europe. It will start at Red Bull Ring this weekend, but also visit circuits like Hungaroring or Czech circuits like Most and Brno. So it's a mix of known circuits from F1, but also some great regional venues.
And who are you sort of expecting to do well this season? I know it's a huge grid, as you say, so it's probably quite difficult to pick out just 2 or 3 drivers, but who are your early favourites, perhaps?
Yeah, I think the favorite here is one of the Jenzer drivers. Jenzer has dominated the series since the inception. They won all of the championships, so I think it's gonna be Jenzer driver. And my personal pick is Max Karhan from Czechia. He was the runner-up last year, and I think this year only good result for him will be the championship win. But it won't be easy for him because there are a lot of other very, very good drivers. Maffei has a very good lineup with David Walter, who was 6th last year in the series, despite missing 2 rounds. So he's gonna be a favorite here as well. But there are a lot of new teams appearing. So a lot of depends on how can the new teams adapt to the F4 Central Europe with cars, with their setups, because for most of them these are new cars and new circuits.
And there's quite a strong female presence on the grid this season as well. Who should we be looking out for in that light?
Yeah, we have a lot of female drivers this year on the grid. I think the 2 I will look most forward to, and we should look most forward to, is Mathilde Pats, who competed last year in the series. She got the podium. She looked quick, and this year she's back for a part-time campaign, as she also competes in F1 Academy. And on the other side of the spectrum of experience, we have Ella Hakkinen, obviously the daughter of the world champion Mika Hakkinen. She looked quite good in testing, and she is with the series dominator with Jenzer, so I think she she has chances to score some good points and maybe even top fives, top threes if an opportunity comes.
And it'll be interesting to see how they get on. I know from my own championship, GB4, there's Ava Dobson that's headed over, who's of course also doing F1 Academy. So a lot of female talent on there, and of course some that we didn't even mention there. In terms of early predictions from yourself, well, maybe just this opening round or perhaps as the championship as a whole, what are your sort of early guesses on who to look out for and who you're predicting will be in that title fight?
Yeah, so as I said, I think Jenzer will remain the team to beat in the series. But I think that these new teams like Cram Motorsport or DriveX, which are very known, can also do well, but it all depends on how they're gonna do with setups with getting into the new series really. But I think Jenzer will be the one to beat. But I really hope that the local teams from Czechia, from Slovakia, from Hungary can match the pace of these bigger teams, because it's always nice to see these smaller teams from local countries compete against the more popular and bigger teams.
So the action for Central European F4 kicks off this weekend. And now from the Red Bull Ring to the Circuit Ricardo Torno for Spanish F4's season opener as well. Let's hear from Feeder Series' very own Spanish F4 expert Seb Tirado, who can tell you a little bit more about what to expect.
Spanish F4 celebrates 10 years of racing in 2026 and kicks off its season at the Circuit Ricardo Tormo in Valencia. The drivers will contest a total of 7 rounds across the Iberian Peninsula, including a debut visit to the brand new Madrid street circuit in the Spanish capital, alongside Parent Series Eurocup 3. Noah Montero goes into the main Spanish F4 season as the Eurocup 4 Spanish Winter Champion, and he'll be looking to follow in the footsteps of Thomas Strauven, who won both the Eurocup 4 and the Spanish F4 drivers' titles last year. We also can't forget the likes of Nathan Ty and Andrej Petrovic, who appeared as surprise front-runners in Eurocup 4 for DriveX and T-Code respectively. And in terms of MP Motorsport and Campos Racing, the two main powerhouses of Spanish F4, we shouldn't be surprised to see the likes of Vivek Kantan, Casper Schurmans, Rocco Coronel and Boris Leichen to appear at the sharp end of proceedings as well. All the drivers mentioned bar Rocco Coronel took wins during the Winter Series and all finished in the top 8 of the standings. You can find out everything you need to know about Spanish F4 in 2026 in my season guide on the Feeder Series website, and you can catch all the action on the Spanish F4 YouTube channel in both English y Español.
Right, so that's Seb and a lovely bit of Spanish at the end there as well. Maciek, I know obviously it's not your championship that you cover, but are you going to be watching much Spanish F4 this season?
Yeah, I will try. It has quite a good grid this year, and also the title battle looked quite good in Spanish Winter Championship. So I think if it remains like this, it will be a very, very interesting championship to watch.
Absolutely, and I know my personal preference, not that I'm biased whatsoever, but Nathan Ty, my fellow Sheffield local, will be racing that one, so I'm sure I'll be cheering him on and hoping he does well for us Northerners. Also, kicking off their 2026 season this weekend will be the 3 American Championships that we mentioned earlier on, with Formula Regional Americas, F4 US and the Leisure Junior Formula Championship. All 3 series will take on NOLA Motorsports Park in Avondale, Louisiana this weekend on the 11th and 12th of April. And the biggest headline heading into that event comes from Formula Regional Americas, where Christian Bogle has returned to the series and returned to single-seaters in general after only a couple of GT World Challenge cameos. The 25-year-old had competed in Indy Next and formerly Indy Lights between 2021 and 2024, as well as previously competing in 8 races of Formula Regional Americas in 2021, with a best finish of 4th. You can keep up to date with all the action from NOLA Motorsports Park this weekend via @FS Americas on X or Twitter. Also stateside, last week it was announced that AJ Foyt Racing and Crosslinks Motorsports are partnering up to create a driver development program for AJ Foyt Racing. The partnership will see aspiring drivers join Crosslink, giving them a development ladder that includes both F4 US and Formula Regional Americas. Now, Maciek, some news from F4 Southeast Asia came out this week as well.
Yeah, not the good news, because the first round of Formula 4 Southeast Asia at Sepang was announced to be postponed on Monday, with the ship carrying the cars to Malaysia stuck in the port of Dubai. The round was originally scheduled to take place between 24th and 26th of April, and the replacement date will be announced as soon as the ship has departed Dubai. Now, the F4 Southeast Asia season will begin at Buriram between 22 and 24th May.
We'll round off this episode. A lot of news we've just covered there, but we also have some in the world of transfers. And on Thursday, the 2nd of April, it was announced that Mari Boyer would be going to Continue Racing for the first GT World Challenge Europe round of the season. The 21-year-old Aston Martin Jr. is currently 18th in the F2 Championship and will be sharing the car with Lance Stroll and Roberto Merri. Maciek, some news involving an F1 Academy champion, I believe.
Yes, indeed. Dorian Pain, alongside another F2 driver, Richard Verschoor, were announced to be racing with Duquin in the LMP2 class of the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Pain obviously is the reigning F1 Academy champion, while Verschoor was very good in Formula 2 last year, finishing third in the overall standings. Both will also compete with Duquin in ELMS.
It was a very busy week for Aston Martin, their driver academy, as well as on Tuesday we had the triple announcement of new members of their academy. First off, Joel Bergstrom, the Swedish 18-year-old, confirmed to be joining their academy. He raced in the first 4 British F4 rounds last year, taking 2 podiums, and was also confirmed to be racing Iberian GT4 with Gianfranco Motorsport. And then it was announced later in the day that Alfred Dorison, the French 17-year-old, would also be joining the academy. He finished second in French F4 last year, taking 5 wins and 3 further podiums. He is also set to be racing in sports cars this year in the Sprint Cup of GT World Challenge Europe. And finally, for the Aston Martin Academy, they announced Anton Morsing, the Danish driver, was 7th in Nordic 4 last year with 1 podium, and he is also going to Iberian GT4 with Bergstrom, but will be racing with Racar Motorsport this season. Maciek, some Formula Regional news as well.
Yes, in F1 Europe, we finally got an end to the Sebastian Weldon saga that was happening in last few weeks. Now it has been confirmed that the 17-year-old has signed with MP Motorsport. He was initially set to race with Prema, but his place in Prema is now taken by Thomas Stoltermanis, so a former F4 driver of this team.
Yeah, that was one we were keeping a very close eye on this weekend. And some final transfer news now as well. In GB3, it was confirmed that Lucas Fluscher would also be racing in the Le Mans Cup this season with Campos in the LMP3 category. And on Friday, it was also confirmed that Flynn Jacks would be staying with Elite Motorsport for a 3rd full season in GB3. In Eurocup 3, all the way back on April Fool's Day, it was announced that Edouard Borgna would be driving with DriveX after competing in Freck last year. You can, of course, keep up to date with all the latest driver announcements and the ones that we didn't cover today by following us on X or Twitter at both feeder_series and FS Americas. That has, though, been your feeder focus for this week. A huge thank you to my guest Maciek Jackiewicz for joining me, and to Seb Tirado for chatting to us as well. A reminder, you can catch Thomas Groves on Monday for the race recap with a rundown of all the action from this weekend. And as always, you can find the links to all the Feeder Series socials, as well as my own and those of my guests, down in the description or in the show notes, depending on where you are tuning in from. Of course, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share, and even leave a review if you have enjoyed the episode. But for now, and for one final time from me, I have been George Sanderson. This has been your Feeder Focus, brought to you by the Feeder Series podcast. Take care, thank you, and goodbye.